going on, guys? And in this video what we're doing is going over a basic solo guide for Achilles, which is the newest god in Smite. This is going to be for solo lane, obviously, but keep in mind Achilles is a hybrid warrior. Think of him like Erlang, Cullen, even someone like Odin, where you can play him in solo lane and super effectively in the jungle as well. But this is obviously a solo build, but the playstyle and the build is still going to translate over to this because you want to be aggressive. You don't want to be really playing Achilles like you would be playing, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a really defensive warrior or something like that. But basically you want some power, but you still want to be tanky. And so that's what we're going to jump into. Real quick, I'll pull up his abilities if you don't know them because he is new. His passive is pretty unique. It allows you to change stances. Right now I'm in defensive stance. You can see here on my passive meter I have 235 extra health and 25 extra protections. Unfortunately I can't switch because I accidentally messed up before the recording, but basically when you're in your fountain, and you can only do this in fountain, you have the option to switch between offensive stance and defensive stance. All you do is hit the attack button, whatever that's keybinded for you, and whenever you do that, if you switch to offensive stance, you gain, I believe it's movement speed and power. I'm not quite sure. We'll see what it is right here. So you get health bonus, protections, and then movement speed and power when you're in offensive stance. So that's what the passive is. Your first ability is going to be your main damage ability. It's going to do a bunch of damage. I think it scales 90% of your power, so it's super strong. And it also pops off a stun if you go ahead and hit it correctly. It looks something like this. Actually, I'm going to take this off default so you can actually see what it looks like real quick. So whenever you bring it up, it's going to look like this. Now, you see how there's two different parts of it. The outer part is going to set off the damage. So you can see here I hit him for 229, but it didn't get the stun off. The only time you get the stun off is when, you know, you actually hit him in the I don't want to call it the center, but the smaller part. And you also do more damage, I believe. So yeah, we did 286 damage there, and we actually got the stun off. Now, his 2 is a steroid. It doesn't do, well, it actually does a whole lot, but it's just a stim. So you're going to get healed whenever you hit abilities and you have your 2 active. You're also going to get physical power, protections, and cooldown, or crowd control reduction, sorry. So it's a really good ability. And it's just going to look like this. You have 5 seconds where it's active. So you can see here, it's really just that simple. You don't see the heal because obviously I'm not, you know, low in health, but you would get that heal depending on how many enemies you hit. Oh, wrong button. Next one is combat dodge. Think of this like Rama. It acts just like this. It is an 8-point dodge system. So we'll take it off of instant so you can see here. So it looks like this. You can choose where you want to go in all 8 directions. And then after you do so, you get this spear attack. You have to use it within 3 seconds. Now, if you hit an enemy god with it, just an enemy god, no minions, nothing like that counts. Only if you hit an enemy god with the spear, you get to use it again. So it looks something like this. You dash forward, hit an enemy god, you can dash again, and then use it again. However, if you hit it a second time, oh well, that's it. You can't dash 3 times, 2 times is the maximum. His ultimate is an execute. It's simple. It's pretty self-explanatory. You could still do damage, and I'll show you right now. But it acts as an execute. So it looks like this. You charge up, dash in, and if they're below the threshold, you execute them. However, you can execute up to 5 enemies. So once you execute someone, that thing recharges and you get to use it again. And if you execute a second person, you can use it again, and so on and so forth up to 5 times. However, each time you execute someone, you take 10% more damage. So if I were to execute that Odin bot, I take 10% more of all sources of damage. Now if I go over and continue the chain and execute a second Odin bot, I now take 20% more damage, and that stacks up all the way to 50%. So while going in and executing all 5 seems easy, you're going to be taking a lot of damage when you do so. That is it for just going over that. I'm sorry if that was a little long, and if you do know Achilles already, you could probably just skip through the video and probably have done so by now. So we're going to jump into the actual build. One more time, looking at all of his abilities. I'm going to take everything back off and put it on Instacast. And let's get into the build. I keep hitting the wrong button. Into the build. For the start, you could start off a couple different ways. One way would be to get Warrior's Blessing, Tier 1 boots, and then you could buy some some health pots, and then multi-pots. You know, do your own combination. Or what you can do is, if doing that if you buy the starter item and tier 1 boots, you'll only have 300 gold left over. So you can't buy 2 chalices, because that'll obviously take it up. But you could start off with just Warrior's Blessing, and then go into Chalice of Healing and some multi-potions or something like that. It's really up to you. I am going to turn this music down, because this is super loud to me. Alright, much better. Back to the build. Okay, so after that, obviously, get Warrior's Tabi. Either finish it off or go ahead and build it. One thing to note that you can start with Attacker's Blessing if you want to be super aggressive. Just keep in mind that you got to kind of commit to that, and your playstyle might change a little bit while doing so. But if you're watching this video and you really don't know the god or really don't know solo lane, I would just play it safe and go ahead and get Warrior's Blessing. Obviously, get your Warrior's Tabi, and now on to the real items. First one will be Gladiator Shield. If you're facing a magical god in solo lane for some reason, you could start off with Ancile. That's not a problem at all, but generally it's going to be a physical, so Gladiator Shield will be the thing. This is good because it gives you 15 physical power, which works well with a hybrid warrior, 30 physical protection, hybrid warrior, and it gives you that 10% cooldown. Cooldown's important to him. His cooldowns aren't super long, but they're not short, so it's nice to just get some. We won't be capping out on cooldown because it's not really necessary, but you definitely want some. And the passive to Gladiator Shield, I think, works amazing with Achilles. Anytime you hit an enemy with a god, your abilities heal you for 2.5% of your maximum health and mana, and can only trigger it once per ability. So if you pair that passive with your 2, you're going to get healed because your 2 is active, and you're going to get healed for having that Gladiator Shield proc. So that is a really good combination to do, and it's only 1,700 gold. It is really cheap. Next item after that is either going to be Ancile or Gladiators, whichever one you didn't get first. Ancile is going to give you 40 power, 50 protection, magic protection that is, not physical. So you get a little more power out of this, a little more protections, and you still get 10% cooldown. It is 300 more gold though, so that's why you get more stuff. The passive, whenever you take magical damage from an enemy ability, you unleash a shockwave that silences all enemies within a range of 30 units for 1 second, and cannot trigger more than once every 30 seconds. This will work wonders on a god like Freya. If you can go ahead and get Ancile to proc on her burst, and then she's just silenced and wastes it, that's amazing. So Ancile is really good, and you get that 10% cooldown. This is the only cooldown we're actually going to be getting, so you get your 20% really, really quick. And at this point, you got 1,700. How much are boots? I think they're up to like 1,600 now, I forget. 1,700 and 2,000. So your first 4 items, including your start, are really cheap, and you should be able to get this online fairly fast. After this is where things get a little more slow in the building process. You're going to want to grab Hide of the Urchin. This has changed a little bit coming into this season, not just the way it looks, but you get 30 physical protections, 30 magical protections, so it's a hybrid item. You get 250 mana, you get 250 health, so you get a little bit of everything, but that's not the best part. Best part is the passive. Well, I'm not idle, but the passive is whenever you gain 2 magical protection and 2 physical protection for each god kill or assist. So at this point in the game is when you're going to really be starting to team fight, so this is when you want to pick it up, obviously. You could get it earlier, but you won't be getting your stacks online probably. At 10 stacks, it evolves, providing you 100 health and +5 per level shield that regenerates over time when you get out of combat. So you get your base protections, and then you get more protections. So basically, whenever this item is fully evolved, you're going to have 60 physical protections, 60 magical protections, 250 health, 250 mana, and then you get that extra health per level of the shield. So it's just amazing item, especially in the solo lane. After that, excuse me, after that, I would recommend grabbing Stone of Gaia. If you want more offense, if you're kind of snowballing, you could skip ahead and get Crusher. And I'll explain why you want to get Crusher in a second. But Stone of Gaia is generally going to be the next one you get, because you want to get a little more defense online. And because we're lacking in health, aside from the Hide of the Urchin, which we just got, this is going to be good. It gives you 400 health. It also gives you some health per 5, which we don't have any right now and we really need. And it also gives you mana per 5, which you can never go wrong with. And it's a 2 passive item, which is amazing. The first one is if you're hit with a knock up, a knockback, a pull, a grab, any super hard CC like that. So if you have like an Awelix comp on the other team, this is a really good item to always get. So whenever you're hit by one of those, you gain 15% of your maximum health over the next 10 seconds, and can only occur once every 60 seconds. Its second passive is you just regenerate 2% of your maximum health every 5 seconds. So you're getting more health per 5, essentially. And it's a percentage. It's not just a flat base. So the more health, the more you gain. So by that, obviously at some point you're going to be wanting to sell Warrior's Blessing. Keep in mind, however, with this season, it's not like starter items where you can buy them and sell them whenever. You get to buy 1 blessing a game, and you get to sell it 1 time a game. Once you sell it, oh well, no more blessings. So keep that in mind. So you're going to sell that at some point and finish off the build with Crusher. The reason I love Crusher on Achilles is because, if you didn't know, Crusher's passive kind of acts like Bluestone Pendant did last season. So you're going to get 30 base power, 20% attack speed, which you don't need at all with Achilles, but it's just like, why not? It's just throwing it in there. It's a good item, so, and you get 15 pen. Which I will say this, Achilles doesn't do a whole lot to tanks. You don't really want to be going after them. So the 15 pen you can't really go wrong with either. But the passive is the real reason I like it on him. Enemies hit by your damaging abilities take an additional 30 physical damage, plus 15% of your power over 2 seconds. Now, because you have built a significant amount of power on Achilles, and because he scales so high, that's just really good. So you're thinking, oh, okay, well, it's just like every other guy. No. The reason I suggest you gotta go Crusher is because you can get it to proc twice with your 3. You can only get it to proc once with your 1 and stuff, but if you go ahead and dash in and hit that, it's gonna make it proc again. Now, if you use it again, that's going to make it proc again. So, obviously, you have to hit a god with the roll to get it to be able to use it again and reduce the cooldown to 0. But having having Crusher being able to proc twice on 1 ability, that's just always good. So, you can see here, I keep calling it Bluestone, procs with 23, and then procs with 23 again. So, being able to get that double proc on a single ability is pretty good. Not to mention, in solo lane, you do want some power, and we don't have any power items. If you want to count Gladiator Shield and Antsile, but those are more defensive. And so the only power you're getting is from Crusher, but I still think it works. We'll go ahead and just kind of hit the Odin bot around a little bit so you can see what kind of damage you're doing. 195 on basics, which, you know, you're not going to be basicing a whole lot. 451 when you hit them inside on your 1. The 3 obviously hitting them for 285 and then 276 there. See what the ult hits for just without executes, I'm curious. 639, so you see we're extremely tanky. A decent amount of health, almost 3,000 health. Not a whole lot of protections, but keep in mind we haven't evolved our Hide of the Urchin. We don't even have any stacks on Hide of the Urchin, so this isn't maxed out yet, but really good. When you're in solo lane and when you're playing a god like Achilles, you want to be tanky, you want to sustain, but you gotta do damage as well. And this build lets you put out the hurts with Achilles, man, let me tell you. And I want to let you know that you can combo stuff together with Achilles to make him really work. You don't have to, if you're using a 3, you don't have to dash, spear, dash, spear. You could use your dash, but cancel it, use your 1, then use the spear, and then dash again, something like that. Like, you can combo things together pretty slickly. There's not a whole lot. It's not something like Agni where there's almost unlimited combinations, but you could definitely be sly with him. You don't have to do the generic dash, hit, dash, hit. You can combo stuff in, but that is going to wrap it up for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like, hit subscribe, and leave a comment if you tried this build, if you liked it, and how it went for you. That is going to wrap it up, guys, and until next time, real quick, I didn't go over relics, but I guess I will just in case someone wants to know. In the solo lane, relics are kind of up to you, honestly, whatever your playstyle is. Teleport fell out of the meta. Not a lot of people get it, but if you are new to solo lane or new to Achilles or new to both, teleport you can't go wrong with. That just lets you teleport directly to your tower, which is like an instant, you know, you can back and get right back to lane, so that's good. You could also get Heavenly Wings is always good, something like a Shell. Maybe even Meditation if you are that new and that afraid of being in solo lane by yourself. But those are some of the ones you can get. Generally, the team fighting ones, if they have like Kumbhakarna and Scylla or even like an Ao Kuang, you can get beads to purify stuff like that. But if I had to pick 2, I'm going to go Heavenly Wings and beads. Why not? Beads is always good. You can never go wrong with them unless you're a tank. Don't get beads on a tank. That is it, guys. Peace.